All right, let's dive into a really powerful, maybe even surprising argument that comes from within the Quran itself. It's a direct challenge to something we all do, just blindly following tradition.
It's a question we bump into all the time, right? You see a huge crowd moving in one direction, and your first instinct is to just go with the flow. It feels safer, it feels correct. But is it really? And that exact question is what we're digging into today.
I mean, just think about it for a second. We're all born into a world that's already set up with certain beliefs, customs, and ways of doing things. We just inherit them. It's so much easier to follow that path, to go along with the herd, you could say. We do what our parents did because, well, that's what their parents did. And right here, the Quran makes this really startling observation. Notice the wording. It doesn't say they chose to go astray. It says they simply found their ancestors already on a messed up path, and they just hopped on and followed right along. So let's unpack that. This idea of finding your ancestors on a path. What does that actually mean?
Well, the key is the specific Arabic word, al-fo. It's not just about finding something like you'd find your lost keys. It has this deeper sense of familiarity, of being accustomed to something. So they didn't just stumble upon their father's path. They were used to it. It was cozy, it was familiar, it was easy. And that right there is the heart of the whole argument. The Quranic position is crystal clear. Just because something is a tradition, just because it's how we've always done things, that is absolutely not a good reason to think it's true or right. Being comfortable with an idea doesn't make it correct. In fact, it's not just a one-off comment. The text goes way further, hammering this point home over and over again. It's a serious warning against this kind of thinking. Time and time again, whenever a new idea or message is presented, you see this same response. It's a total refusal to even engage with the idea itself. Instead, people just retreat back to the comfort of what their ancestors did. This is pointed out as a huge mistake in how we think. So to shake people out of this pattern, the Quran hits them with a series of sharp, logical questions. It asks, wait a minute, you're going to follow them even if they didn't use their own minds to understand anything? And it keeps pushing. You're going to follow them even if they had zero actual knowledge about it? And here's the final nail in the coffin. You're going to follow them even if they themselves were totally lost? The logic is just airtight. If you follow someone who's lost, you're only going to get lost too. So the critique gets even bigger. It moves beyond just your ancestors and takes aim at the whole idea of safety in numbers, suggesting that just following the majority can be every bit as dangerous. And this brings us to a really interesting reframing of a key term in the Qur'an, based on the analysis of our source author, Khalid al-Sayyid Hassan. Okay, so check this out. The whole argument here pivots on a deeper look at the word iman. We usually hear it translated as faith or belief, but the argument is that its real meaning is an action, the act of granting security. So a mu'min isn't just someone who passively believes something. They are an active grantor of security to the people and world around them. Now, when you see it that way, it completely changes how you read the Qur'an's critique of most people. The warning isn't just about what people think. It's that most people don't actively grant security. They don't know things, they don't use their reason, they aren't grateful. The majority is called out for its lack of a positive, active role in society. Okay, so if we're being warned not to follow tradition or the majority, what's the alternative? What are we supposed to do instead? The solution that's offered is a really clear three-step plan. First, just stop. Stop the automatic, thoughtless copying. Second, go straight to the source material, what the text calls what God has revealed. And third, and this is so important, engage your own mind. Use your reason to actually understand it. And this is just a brilliant concept, isn't it? The idea is that while the text itself might be timeless, our understanding of it can't be frozen in some past century. Every single generation has the job of reading it and understanding it for their own time, using their own knowledge to tackle their own problems. To really drive this whole idea home, the source material wraps up with this powerful historical comparison to show what happens in the real world when you take one of these two paths. You can actually see a parallel in European history. The Dark Ages were pretty much defined by blindly following institutional authority without question. But what happened when people started to challenge that tradition with reason and direct investigation? You got the Enlightenment, an incredible explosion of science and progress. The whole world shifted from dogma to discovery. So the takeaway here is universal. It doesn't matter if we're talking about religion or politics or science. Blindly holding on to the past just leads to stagnation. The engine of all human progress, the source argues, is always critical thinking and having the guts to question the things we've inherited. And that leaves us with one last, really personal question to chew on. Take a hard look at your own deepest convictions. Which of those truths did you actually arrive at yourself through your own reasoning and investigation? And which ones did you just sort of find, already waiting for you on the path of your ancestors?